Hello and welcome to another episode of Video Game Logic. Today's episode was recorded on December the 19th, 2024. I'm your host, gaming psychologist, and with me, as always, not receiving my affection,
a caffeine rage.
On today's show, we will discuss a few games that we have played. We'll talk about the winners of the Game Awards, and the Balatro devs deal out thoughts over their 18+ rating. Timestamps will be in the show notes following their respective topics. Hello, Reg.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm all right. I had a bit of a long day. I mean, it kind of how it is in food service, right?
Yeah.
Dealing with people, and although it's always fun to get the people that, obviously are trying to scam us and think they're really clever,
Yeah.
One of these days I'm gonna have to put together like a highlight reel of just some of the people that come through. Still, my spirit animal is the one that that guy was at the menu board outside, trying to figure out what he wants, and his passenger pipes up, "All they got is fucking chicken."
That's beautiful. I love that guy.
Yeah, it's things like that are the highlights because there's so many dumb motherfuckers.
Yeah, there are.
Especially
there really
living in a deep red state.
Oh, yeah. Up to our fucking assholes in them. Up to our assholes and assholes.
Yep, pretty damn much.
Yeah, I try really hard not to dwell on it for too long. Like, I think about it, I acknowledge it, I'm upset about it. But if I stay upset about it, well, then I'm screwed. And not in a fun way.
Don't you wish?
I do. Very much so, yes. But let's move into our things, because, as has been our way, we don't get started until a little later with these, so...
Well, it also doesn't help that, this is really our only interactions for the week these days.
Yeah. We're busy boys, you and I.
Mm-hmm.
Busy boys.
I mean, I'm moving up in the restaurant world.
I'm staying where I'm at in the mental health world.
I've basically been told I'm third in the pecking order now at my restaurant.
That makes sense. What is the phrase that you've used? Cursed with mild competence?
Right.
I'll put you head and shoulders above a lot of folks in retail and food service.
Well, I was basically told that next time that there's a position that moves either Joe out or Missy out, move up, which would put me either at the assistant position, which is scary because that's a lot of hours for not great pay. Although it's better than what I get, so right.
It's
better than what I get, and it also builds vacation time a hell of a lot faster.
When you said it builds, my brain automatically went character. Builds character.
Do I need more character? I'm already enough of a sarcastic ass.
No, I don't think you need more character. I think you're good. Your character is just fine the way it is. Mwah. But yeah. All right. Well, I've got let's go talk about some games we played. Rage. I've got 2. You've got 1. Do you want to do a sandwich with your game in the middle?
Well, it depends on how much you could talk about yours, because I'm not sure how much I could really talk about mine.
Well, I'm gonna flip-flop mine because
okay.
The one that I'm now gonna talk about first is gonna be really quick. I don't have a lot to say about it.
All right, go for it then.
All right. So the first game I want to talk about this week is Warcraft Rumble. It is a new, primarily mobile, but it's also available on PC game that Activision Blizzard has put together. And as you might have guessed, it is revolving around the Warcraft, although when they say Warcraft, they primarily mean World of Warcraft franchise. It is a lane based game. It's kind of like Clash Royale or the Titanfall mobile game, and there's a bunch of them. Gears of War had a mobile game that did this, but anyways, it's a lane based game where that you serve as like the commander or whatever for your side, and you build up gold over the course of the round, which lasts a maximum of 5 minutes, 3.5 minutes of normal game time, and then it goes into overtime, and then it can go into double overtime for a total of 5 minutes. But you've got a quote unquote deck of 10 playable things, plus an 11th card for your commander. And the playable things include characters that you can play down, as well as spells and item cards. And so essentially you are on your side of the map and you are trying to beat your opponent on their side of the map. And the maps have got different obstacles, different capture points and whatnot in the middle of the map between your side and their side. And you are trying to overpower your opponent and kill them. If you capture a point, you can use it as like a forward spawn position. There are different map configurations and obstacles and other things that can dynamically adjust what you need to do. Sometimes there's maps, for example, where that you can have routes that you choose. Maybe there's 3 routes to the bad guy or to your opponent, and it's maybe there's one that's better based on a certain type of unit that you're using. For example, ranged units, if you put them up somewhere high, they can attack units that are below them without being attacked back, even by other ranged units. So maybe this map has got a third middle path that once you unlock the path by breaking down a wall or destroying a tower, your ranged units can go up the middle and can shoot down on lanes 1 and 3 on either side of them. So it's got some stuff like that works pretty well. It's got a generic kind of rock, paper, scissors kind of deal. You've got melee units versus ranged units versus air-based units. And the air-based units do a lot of damage, but they're really weak, and they can only be attacked by ranged units. Ranged units vary in how much damage they do, but their main advantage is that they're ranged, and so melee units have to charge into them, whereas melee units tend to be the tankiest and overall do the most damage in kind of the grand scheme of things, but they're melee-based units, so they have to get right up next to everything. And that's the gist of it. There's a single-player mode. I don't know how long that goes. I've only played through the first 10 levels in single-player mode. Each one is set in sort of a level progression through the Alliance map side from World of Warcraft, starting at quote-unquote level 1, and you work your way up. So you go through the starting areas for the Alliance, and you move up to the level 10 to 20 areas, and so on and so forth, as far as I can tell from what you can see. But there's parts of the map that have yet to be revealed. But I mean, of course, it is a free-to-play mobile game, so it's loaded up with microtransactions. There are multiple currencies. Of course, your little card guys level up. They gain experience when you play them, but also, hey, wouldn't it be great if you spent some money on this premium currency to make them level up even faster? There are different heroes that you can get, and the different heroes have different rarities and ratings, just like a gacha game, so you've got those kind of mechanics thrown in there. You can level up your heroes. There are different hero powers you can unlock as they level up. You can have more than one hero. And the more heroes you have, it takes a hero to have a deck. So you play through the tutorial before you unlock the multiplayer mode, and it slowly builds your deck for you and teaches you the mechanics across the first 4 or 5 levels in the single player. But then you can't make a new deck without a new hero. So if you want to have multiple decks, then you have to make a new hero. And then they've got I think they call it the auction house, which is where you can buy either new units, new cards for your deck, or if you buy duplicate cards, then you can level up your cards And those cards are bought with like gold, which is the free currency that you get for winning against other players or for beating the single player levels. But it's totally randomized. And essentially, there's three things like there's rows and columns. And if you buy anything, if you buy any cards, it drops the row down by one. So if there are three guys in the bottom row, you can only pick one of them that you want because when you buy it, it drops the row down.
Of course.
And brings in some new stuff from the top. There are additional things you can purchase that will allow you to like get 2 units or to power something up if you buy something from this column. And some of them can be bought with gold, and some of them can be bought with like gem dust, which is like their premium currency that is also in Hearthstone. It's that kind of thing. It's the gameplay's fine. If you've played these kinds of games before and you like them, you'll probably like this. It seems fairly balanced, at least the single player stuff. Seems fairly balanced. The rounds are quick. It's in beta right now. Of course, the shop is open. You can spend money on it, but it's in beta right now. They have like it drops connection a lot. That's kind of why I've stayed away from multiplayer games. It'll drop the connection several times at the beginning of the match. And when you're playing against the computer, it will pause if that happens. I'd imagine the game doesn't pause if you're playing against another human. So, it's fine. If you like this kind of game, it's fine. You can get on mobile in, Google Play Store or the, iPhone shop, whatever. You can also get it on PC through the same like Activision Blizzard launcher that you can get all their other games from. And it's exactly the same on PC, it's just on a bigger screen. And you use your mouse instead of tapping your phone. So
Fun.
Warcraft Rumble. It's fine. It passes the time while you poop.
Mm-hmm. As my cat starts yelling in the background. Okay, so speaking of passing your time while you poop.
Of course.
Pokemon Trading Card Game Pocket. I think that's the official title, or... Now I'm going to go... Pokemon TCG Pocket, so close enough, right?
Yes.
It's a mobile edition of a altered Pokemon trading card game. I will admit, I do not play the trading card game. I've never really got into really any of the major card games. I tried Magic a few times and had an absolute dick of a person that was teaching me and just put me off of it.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm coming into this pretty blind outside of the concept that there is a trading card game and there's a pretty big scene around it. And I know Pokemon from the video games. All right. So
Okay.
this changes the rules quite a bit anyway. So knowledge of that, from what I understand, might actually be a detriment. Okay. So in TCG Pocket, the whole idea is basically a point system where instead of trying to knock out the opponent, and I'm not sure if this is about with the trading card game as well, you have to essentially knock out 3 Pokemon to score points to win the battle. First player to get 3 points wins, but they also meddle with the type chart. So, instead of multiple typings having weaknesses and strengths against one another, it's instead of rock paper scissors, it's like just a circle of weaknesses and strengths, which really, really, really threw me off.
Yeah.
So this is a gotcha game. I mean, trading card games in general were like the original gotcha games, right?
Yeah.
Where for this one, it's opening up packs of cards. They do not have energy cards in this. Instead, it's handled by the systems, the gameplay systems in the actual matches. So that's nice. And you get 2 packs a day as a free player. If you buy a subscription, you get a 3rd pack a day, plus additional things. And starting to see where it's already buying power, huh?
Yep.
And I have some serious problems with some cards that just like looking at it, it's like this is fucking imbalanced as hell. Which that might actually be like a holdover from the Pokemon trading card game, for all I know. So every round outside the first, there's an advantage and disadvantage. You flip a coin to choose who goes first. The person that loses the coin flip gets the first energy, but the person that wins the coin flip on their second turn can evolve their Pokemons before the second person.
Okay.
So there's a kind of a trade-off on if you want the first attack or the first chance to evolve. But there's so many ways to like generate energy from different cards and different just general fuckery that it feels so unbalanced. The meta of this game is basically boiled down to like 2 or 3 decks already, and this game has been out for worldwide for a month and a half.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, it is a gotcha game. We went over
Well, yes. Also, I played the Pokemon TCG, but I was a kid, 12 maybe not even that old.
So I'll go over the general rules of the game, and we'll see. You at least remember the rules, right? Roughly.
Yeah, roughly.
Okay, so you have an active Pokemon and a bench of 3 benched Pokemon.
Okay, that's
every huh?
I was gonna say that's not like the TCG at all, unless its rules have drastically changed.
Okay. You start with a hand, I believe, of 5, and you have to play a basic Pokemon, a level 1 evolution, and you play up to 3 additional ones for your bench Pokemon. You every round after the very first turn generates 1 energy of a particular type, depending on how you set up your deck. If you have a multiple types, it'll randomly generate that energy though. So, like if you do a lightning, which that's what they call electric in this, and fighting type deck, it'll randomly choose one or the other, and it'll tell you what the next energy is going to be. And certain Pokemon require just any color energy to attack, while others require their element to attack.
Yeah.
Once you have the energy, you get attack. Most Pokemon has 1 attack, and it also, unless you're using a card to retreat to change the cost, it usually costs about the same amount to attack, or to be able to use your attack, to retreat your Pokemon to the bench to swap out to a different one. Does this sound familiar at all?
Some of this, I mean, okay, so you do have a bench, but I think it was like 6 Pokemon in total you could have in play.
Well, this is 4 Pokemon total, 3 benched and 1 active.
Yeah.
Which some Pokemon also do have abilities which change up things that you could use essentially for free.
Yeah. I do remember that you could, I don't think there was a limit on how many actions, attacks, abilities, like whatever that you could use. Like if you had the energy for it, you can do it in the TCG.
Well, this only the active Pokemon attacks. But any Pokemon, as long as their ability is usable, can use their ability before the attack. The attack is like the end state of the turn, unless you hit end turn, of course.
Yeah.
One Pokemon I like to use, Magnemite or Magda's. Trying to remember which evolution it is. has an ability to draw energy from the energy zone. Uh, uh, so you could set that up on the bench and constantly like draw energy to it to be able to use its attack while also buffing up another Pokemon to get ready to attack, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be in the active slot to be able to use that ability. While other Pokemon, if it's a like a direct attack, may have to be in the active spot, as far as I can tell. But it usually denotes, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, then it can do this, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, I just have so many problems with the balance of this game. There's certain okay, so you could only use one support card per round, but you could use unlimited items. So people basically stack up their best support characters. And one of the really broken decks right now, unless things have changed since the last time I looked, is a water deck that's using a lot of Misty cards. Because just like the tabletop version, there's a lot of dice of a lot of coin flipping. Sound familiar?
Yep, that's familiar.
Okay, so Misty has a thing where you flip a coin and you flip a coin until you get a tails, and for every head you get, you add an energy to your active Pokemon. Am I the only one that sees a problem with this card? Right?
Yeah.
If you get lucky, you might have a fully charged up Pokemon on like round 0, right?
Yep.
And support cards do not cost anything to use. You could just only use one at a turn. So yeah, that seems very bad. And this is not the only one. There's a few others that are like this that generates energy, but this is the most egregious one. Like I said, the Magneton, I think it was actually, has an ability to generate energy, but it's 1 energy per turn, and it takes 3 energy to attack. So yeah, it's still going to take you 2 turns, even if you use the ability to help charge it up. There is some talk of how there's a limit on essentially the luck. The coin flip isn't fair, and early on it's less likely to give you heads. But there are some people that's shown screenshots of getting like 12 heads in a row.
Yeah. Which technically speaking could happen,
Yeah.
but it's
crazy.
Very unbalanced in a multiplayer game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just insane. And that's pretty much the main reason why I've tried to stay away from the PvP aspect. There is a PvE aspect where they rotate around different events, which is neat. But it doesn't feel like that's the main focus of the game. It feels like the main focus is collecting cards for the sake of collecting cards. Which I will admit that opening up the card pack set, there is that little dopamine hit of I might get something good, right? And they have it where you could kind of tilt the cards and get a peek at the edges of all the cards of the stack when you take them out of the pack. There's obviously a lot of thought gone into all the animations and all the like little peaks and little dopamine moments. But I'm not convinced there's nearly as much thought put into the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
Which is really frustrating. And the fact that, first of all, paid subscription, which, what the hell, right? Gets you essentially, it gives you literally an extra pack a day, plus premium daily missions that will add up over time. And considering some of the rarer, more powerful cards are very low odds, they do hand out more ways to get cards, though, which is nice. There's the Wonder Pick, which has its own like stamina system built into it. And what it'll do is, assuming that there's no event going on, which gives you a free pick, you build up 1 stamina every 12 hours, and you can have up to 5 stamina. And you can pick from people online that open up packs or your friends.
Yeah.
And you can see the 5 cards that they got, and it flips them all over, face down, shuffles them, and tells you to pick one, and you get a copy of it. If it has like all common cards, it's just 1 stamina. If it's the more powerful, rarer cards, it's 2 or 3 stamina. But you also slowly earn hourglasses, which takes an hour off of the timer for stamina, or an hour off the timer for the card packs.
Yeah.
So you could eventually build up to where you go pull, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the daily missions also give you hourglasses to build up. So it's not as egregious as for face value, but it's kind of galling to see just how crazy things could get, especially if you get a good pull, right?
Yeah.
Or if luck's on your side and you're a premium person, oh boy, right? Mind you, I didn't even cover the EX cards. So the EX cards are like more powerful variants of base Pokemon. Uh, but to balance that, if an EX card is knocked out, it counts as 2 points for the 3 point rule. So, one I like to use is, in at least PVE, is Wigglytuff.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-stage evolution. So I could have it most likely on turn like 3 or 4 if I get lucky and draw it into my hand.
Yeah.
And it's a weaker EX card, but it also gives the sleep status effect to the active Pokemon on the opposing team, and they have to win a coin flip to be able to attack, which is nice,
Yeah.
So a little bit of tougher to deal with than just a basic Pokemon, but you also have to run some strategy with it, where if you throw it out there and it gets knocked out, well, that's 2 points of your 3 that you're gone already, right? Like I said, I'm of two minds of this, because I enjoy opening the packs, but the balance just seems so cuckoo.
Right. That makes sense. 'Cause, I mean, it is, it does feel good to open them packs.
Uh, and this is about the cheapest way you could do it, right?
Yep.
Let's just see. Uh, I mean, I'm just looking at Reddit now, and people are saying like 2 or 3 meta decks and everything else is trash.
Oh,
Ooh.
okay. Oh, are you still
Uh,
looking at stuff?
yeah, I was just somebody. I guess there's already a tournament scene on this. The literally 2 cards have a half or in half of all decks for tournaments.
Yeah.
That's insane. But yeah, kind of is on track, right?
Yeah. Sure, it's extremely popular overall, just because of the Pokemans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course, because the Pokemans. Yeah, looks like it's settled out a little bit more, but uh, the okay, one card is in over a quarter of all tournament decks, and then another one is also in a quarter of them. Then the next one down is 12%, right?
Damn, dude.
It kind of gives you an idea, huh, of just how
Yeah.
powerful those two are.
It does. All right. Do you wanna hear about my game, my other game?
Yeah.
So, Colony Ship, a post-Earth RPG. This is on your wish list, so I was gonna be careful anyways, but I'm gonna be extra careful about spoilers. Colony Ship, a post-Earth RPG, is a role-playing game with turn-based combat. It's hard to not compare it to Baldur's Gate 3, and this game is not trying to be Baldur's Gate 3. This game is not trying to do any of that, but in a post-Baldur's Gate 3 world, it's hard to not compare stuff to Baldur's Gate 3. This game is made by like 2 or 3 developers, and it is overall good with some frustrating bits to it. Broad strokes, like this story stuff, like you get at like the very beginning of the game or within your first couple hours of gameplay. So, broad strokes, you are on a colony ship that has left Earth at some indeterminate point in the past. Some shit went down.
The current year.
And you are the descendant of one of the original colonists, and you have lived your whole life on this colony ship. Never set foot on a planet or anywhere else for that matter. This has been your whole life. And you make a living just doing odd jobs. You get hired to do a job and you find the MacGuffin. And then you go on an adventure to sell the MacGuffin to the highest bidder, which leads you to all the rest of the story and everything that happens. Certain aspects about the story that I have learned later on in the game, really like looking back and thinking about the first stages of the game, it is extremely consistent in its narrative, even when you don't feel like it is. It will come back around for you. There is no magic in this game. There are pieces of technology that people don't understand, because it's one of those things of like, well, we're the descendants and all of this stuff happened, and so we don't know what this is. But they know it, like, it's never presented as like magic. It's never once as like, oh yes, sufficiently enough advanced technology is like magic or whatever. Like it doesn't do that. Like it's advanced tech, it's advanced tech. And then there's stuff later on in the game, because like there's some stuff that doesn't make sense in the beginning once that first starts popping up. And then you will find some things that are like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. And maybe you could have guessed it beforehand, but whether or not you did, like, it's very consistent. It's hard. It's hard as fuck. It tells you at the beginning of the game, like, it recommends that you play. It's got 2 difficulties, normal and hero mode. And it really recommends that you play hero mode. This is where the frustrating part comes in, because it doesn't do a good enough job explaining why you should play hero mode for your first playthrough when you're just exploring versus playing on the normal difficulty for future playthroughs. And the reason is twofold. First of all, if you do not commit to a path early on and stick to it, you will find yourself underleveled, potentially failing everything in the future. The game has got limited experience that you can gain, and most of your skills are very limited in how much you can increase them. And beyond that, let's say you do a quest, or you complete a mission, and in the completion of that mission you get 100 XP. Well, if you're playing solo without a party, you get all 100 of that XP to level up. But if you're playing with a party, it splits the 100 XP between your party members.
Ooh.
So you have, and like it doesn't tell you this stuff. I actually found that outside of the game. But so you have to choose pretty early on. Do you want to commit to a solo run or a party? And if you do a party, how do you want to go the full Monty? Do you want the entire party that you can acquire? Or do you want to run lean to just kind of fill in some gaps and have stronger characters? And so, like, that's why, like, those reasons, plus, like I said, if you don't pick a path, like, let's say, if you would rather try to, okay. So you should either go full combat and just murder hobo the whole game, or full social your way through the game. Because if you don't pick a path and stick to it, you will find yourself later on not being strong enough to win fights and not having good enough social skills to win stuff without fighting. And hero mode like reduces all of those sort of like penalties, makes you a little bit stronger, makes your enemies a little bit weaker. Whereas like the normal mode doesn't cheat either way, but it expects you to know these things about the game that it doesn't communicate to you very well or even at all. And that is where the game falls apart the most, is because you can get like soft locked because you just did a bunch of stuff that you didn't know was actually going to hurt you. And you cannot modify difficulty settings once you start a game. They are locked. I actually got a save editor because I didn't want to give up 15 hours into the story. And I went in and I improved all of my characters a little bit. Not to make them like invincible, but just enough to where they would have been, I think, if I had like known all of that stuff going in and made different choices in my playthrough. So if you get this game, the story is pretty solid. It is consistent, even though it doesn't seem to be at first when you're putting together all of the early pieces of the game. Play on hero mode, or be committed to doing only one thing for the entirety of the game. As for the characters, of course, you get to create your own character. There are a series, otherwise all the other characters are fixed. I think the characters overall are interesting. And they have done an extremely good job of bringing like a fully fleshed world and background for each of these characters in a very small period of time and in a relatively very small place. The game controls well. It doesn't have any inventory restrictions.
I'm not sure if I zoned out, but what exactly is hero mode versus normal?
Hero mode is like easier, basically.
So basically, it's a labeling problem too.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I just zoned out and you didn't cover that, but yeah.
Yeah, so I said this, and I might have zoned out, or probably zoned out. I mean, but, just so that you know, hero mode, it makes you a little stronger and the enemies a little weaker to account for the fact that you don't know what you're doing going in. And I think it tells you it makes you 10% stronger in comparison to your enemies, but then it doesn't tell you that it also actually makes them weaker. And like when I say 10% stronger, it's like across various things. Your attacks hit a little more often, the enemies hit a little less often. You get some small bonuses to your damage. You get some small bonuses to your damage reduction, and it adds up. Like, the game is very gear progression based. You do level up skills, and those skills make a difference in how your character evolves. But a lot of your progression comes from gear, because you start in like the shitty rundown area of the ship with like scrap weapons and mostly broken parts. And as you go through the story, you get, actual like real guns, actual like weapons as opposed to tools that have been turned into makeshift weapons. And then you start getting like the cool sci-fi future tech for your use. So a lot of the progression is gear based. Your character never gets more health. It's based like your character stats, you set them at the beginning of the game, and they are unchanging except for by a mechanic which you can get implants that will boost your stats. So like it's a point distribution system. So you get like 20 points basically, and all of your skills start out at like 4, and then you can add points to the skills, or add points to your stats. And it tells you, strength. It's pretty straightforward, like strength, dexterity, intelligence, constitution, wisdom, and charisma are the stats, I believe. And, it tells you, like, oh, your strength correlates to melee damage, and dexterity correlates to range damage, and charisma is how much of a boost you get to your starting charisma stats and things like that. But, like, once those are locked in, the only way you can improve them is via implants, cybernetic implants. Your skills level up as you use them. But, if you pick a constitution of, like, 6, it gives you, like, 50 health, and then that's it. That's all you've got to work with the whole game. Well, that's not entirely true. When you level up, you get perks or talents that you can apply to your character. Some of them are for specific characters. So your companions have got perks unique to them that they can get. You have got a couple of unique perks as the player character. But then a lot of the rest of them are like, once you get enough skill and melee weapons, for example, there will be perks that boost your melee stats. If you get downed in combat, you get a permanent perk for that. It lowers your maximum health to represent that you have like some kind of like lasting injury, but then it confers like a bonus to you as well. There's lots of things like that pop up in the game, where that you discover like, oh, I've got this like new effect that is now permanent, and it makes sense. It's consistent, but also like, damn, that's brutal. So mechanically, like I'm bitching about the stuff. Like it does a lot of things right. Like, the gear progression is good. It doesn't like make you micromanage your inventory. There is a scarcity in the game. You're on a spaceship. There is very little production or manufacture that is going on. So bullets are like anything that you buy from a shop or sell to a shop stays. So if a shop, for example, has got 200 pistol rounds, like that's it. That's all that shop will ever have. There are multiple shops, and you can get ammo off of dead bodies. But technically speaking, you could use up all the ammo in the game, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that permanency. It's good ludonarrative. And then especially like the sci-fi tech is like super limited. So but the gear progression feels good. The inventory management is easy. It explains itself well for the most part in game. I like a lot of the perks. A lot of them are really interesting, and come with some trade-offs. There are very few perks that are just straight up like good. There are some of those, but a lot of them come with trade-offs. Because the game is all about specializing your character to be the best at whatever thing you're trying to pursue. So, trying to think about anything else I can say without getting too heavily into story spoilers. I do recommend this game. I do recommend it, but a lot of the stuff that I really like about it, I can't say because it gets like into deep spoiler territory. I love the story. I love the implications. I love these little things. Like, for example, like there's a lot of stuff from, they call it Old Earth. There's a lot of stuff from Old Earth that you might know is incorrect. Like, for example, there's a weapon, like there's, I mean, it's an AR-15, but they have it like, I think it's like AYE.
Mm-hmm.
R, like air, it does it like it's a word. It's like AR-15.
Mm-hmm.
And then the description is like, this weapon was used by the colonial settlers in Old Earth America to fight the British. And it's like, that's not right. That's incorrect. But there's all kinds of stuff like that. And I'm sure there's stuff that references that I don't get, but there's all kinds of references in the game. Combat is turn-based. I guess I should say like that's kind of the last thing. Like combat is turn-based. There is a locked initiative that's based on your stats compared to the other people's stats. So it's not like you roll for initiative or anything. You get an initiative number that's based on your dexterity in combination with your gear and any perk points, because heavy armor slows you down. So you're farther down in the initiative. So But before the very first round of combat starts, any character, no matter what point they're at in the initiative, can spend some of their action points to activate gear. So, for example, if you like, there are shields, energy shields, cloaks, these things called disruptor fields, which, like, if somebody tries to melee attack you, it stuns them, like that kind of thing. You can, on the first round, while you're doing like your team setup to start combat, people can activate their gear. So that helps balance it out a little bit, especially if you've got like a tanky character that always winds up in the bottom of the initiative because he wears like nothing but heavy armor and uses like the special prototype shield and stands out in the open to draw everyone's fire in the first turn.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm being very specific because I do that. The character's name is Jed. And so, like, yeah, I give him like the heaviest gear and like an energy shield, and he literally just stands in the open and is an easy target. But like, I activate all of his equipment, and he's very hard to kill. So there's like a grid where you can place down your people at the start of combat. Usually, there's cover and other things that you can utilize. I mean, every once in a while, like, you get ambushed or you run into like a crazy, like, you do a stupid thing, and it's like, right, there's no cover. I'm surrounded by enemies. What do I do? But most of the time, there's cover that you can utilize. You can use line of sight. You know, if you can't be seen, you can't be shot. So line of sight is really handy. There's stuff like grenades you can use to create smoke screens or toxic clouds, which can block vision or hurt people who enter them or get too close. Like, you know, combat is turn-based. It's on a grid, and it controls extremely well. There's lots of options for combat. Like, every weapon, every attack has got like like different types of its attacks. For example, my main character uses pistols, and so pistols have got like a normal attack, like a fast
gangsta attack,
a normal attack, a quick attack, which actually, like, the character like changes up the stance for how they're handling the weapon. And a normal attack is like they're holding it with two hands, like they're aiming. Quick attack is one-handed. Then, like, different types of weapons have different extra abilities. So, for example, if you're using a pistol that is like a semi-automatic pistol, maybe you can, like, there's a double attack where that you can, you know, fire 2 rounds in quick succession. Or if you're using a pistol that either you have modified because there's some equipment modification, or if, like, it, you know, it says in the description, like, this pistol was modified for rapid fire, then you can do like a burst fire with the pistol, and it costs you maybe more action points and has an accuracy penalty, but then suddenly you fire 5 attacks instead of, you know, maximum of 2. So it's like those trade-offs. Then you can, you know, there's aimed attacks that you can aim at different body parts, and that does different things. So, you know, if if you shoot someone's arms, for example, then they are less accurate because, like, they can't use their arms as well to shoot at you or to do as much damage with a melee weapon because their arms are injured. If you shoot somebody in the legs, then they have less movement speed because they've been shot in the legs. That kind of thing. So it's good. Mechanically speaking, it's good. I really like the story. I wish I could talk more about the story, but since it's on your wish list and you might play it,
appreciate it.
Yeah. So since it's on your wish list and you might play it, like, I won't get into the story anymore. I think it's good. Like, it's a solid, like, B to B plus RPG. It's good. I'm somewhere near the end of Act 2. And, you know, of course, there's factions, and kind of Act 2 is like, meet all the factions. Which faction are you going to align with? Or are you not going to align with any of them? And, like, I've met all the factions, and I'm doing, like, the big Act 2 quest, or Act 2 mission. So I think Act 3 is going to be a lot shorter. But again, I don't want to say any more because I can't talk about story stuff. But I think I've figured out where the story is going, and I'm excited if I'm correct. But anyways, yeah. Colony Ship, a post-Earth RPG. 2 thumbs up. B to B plus territory. Worth a look if you like this kind of games. So moving on to our news topics. The first one, gonna talk about the Game Award winners a little bit.
Oh, yes, the Game Awards, which I did not watch any of this year. What
Me
about
neither.
you?
Nope.
I just, I had very little interest in watching it because, I can watch it, see the highlights boiled down elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some of the winners and, of course, the losers. But we're also going to probably be skipping a lot of this because, we're not esports oriented. So going to skip like 5 categories there, right?
Yeah.
And it does feel like they're doing more and more categories, right?
Yeah. How many categories are there? A few categories. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No. 1, 2, 3, 4.
There's 8
8.
per row.
8 times 3 is 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 29 categories.
30.
Oh, 30?
Player's voice. It's
Oh, yeah. The only one that's not decided by the committee.
yeah. Yeah, player's voice is solely by vote, so we'll go with that one first. And it's also the only one that doesn't show any other nominees. It's just, this is it, right?
Yep.
Black Wukong, which before even really seeing the votes or seeing voting going out and hearing people talk about it, I didn't really pay attention to it because I thought it was a PlayStation exclusive.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to it because it didn't look interesting to me. I mean, we talked, I think it's mentioned about Black Myth last week because it was on the other list from NPR.
NPR, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, neither of us really have any thoughts. I know that this game was held up a lot by that sort of like alt-right people because it wasn't like woke or whatever. And that makes me want to stay away from it anyways. Like, because the game itself, quote unquote, isn't woke. Like, I don't give a shit. Like,
yeah, but to be fair on Black Myth Wukong, they can't even fucking define what the fuck woke is.
Yeah. But
for all it matters, it could be the fact that there's no character creation, so you never pick a gender, right?
yeah. But I've heard mostly good things about it.
Mm-hmm.
I heard some negative stuff about it too, but I mean, it was mostly good. It's just wasn't interested, wasn't paying attention.
I mean, it's rated 98% on Steam across 56, almost 57,000 voters. So, definitely something there at least.
Yeah.
Although, one of the top reviews is talking about how it is terrific, but it has a more limited appeal than the hype would imply. Which, right?
Yeah.
So we could skip all the way to, I don't know. I don't know any of these people for Content Creator of the Year.
Oh, right. I wanted to look at that to see if I knew any of them. Are we working from the bottom up then?
Yeah.
That's fine. Let me just.
Otherwise, we'd be starting with Game of the Year, and that's no fun.
So, yeah, I don't know any of them. Like, I'm not sure if it's Casio or Casio. A couple of the clients that I work with who are teenagers have mentioned this guy before, but that's it. I don't know anything about this guy otherwise. So yeah, I don't know any of them.
I mean, one of them is literally just a drawing. A virtual YouTuber, a future YouTuber wiki. Oh God, right?
I was gonna say that's a VTuber.
Yeah.
Most anticipated game. Grand Theft
Also
Auto
known as,
6.
I mean,
I don't give a shit. Who gives a shit?
Most anticipated game feels like a weird thing to give at an award show like this. Yeah, maybe like back at this was like the appendix of this award show where it was trying to be a little bit more E3 ish,
Yeah.
So it's trying to show we're looking to the future by looking at the most anticipated game, which makes more sense on which I realize the Game Awards is going this way, but an event that's more focused on announcements. Yes, I know the Game Awards has a fuck ton of announcements now, but that's not really the focus of this event, or at least it shouldn't be, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I was gonna say, well, it's pretty commonly known as, instead of the Game Awards, as the game advertisements, so
Mm-hmm.
makes sense.
I mean,
I don't.
I mean, this would be, interesting to hear talk about, but not a full on award, especially whenever they quickly, just skip past awards, or at least they had in the past. Where this one also won the award for best RPG of the year.
Yep.
So best adaptation. Now this is intriguing. Uh, for the simple fact that showing video games in a broader light, or a broader scope. I have not watched any of these.
I have. I've watched some of the Fallout show, and then Knuckles. I've seen that because of my child.
Mhm.
Knuckles was fine. The Fallout show is pretty good, but I'm only like halfway through it. I don't watch a lot of shows. It's taken me months to get halfway through the season. It's pretty good. I mean, I don't. It makes sense that Fallout was the winner. Fallout is the most like, and this probably feels weird, but like Fallout is like the most like a real show of anything that's on here, a real thing. It's taken very seriously. It seems to, like, from the episodes that I've seen, it seems to get the Fallout humor, and it's really well shot, and the characters are really good, and the acting is good, and like, it's just like checklists of all these like these positive things. So I'm not surprised that it's the winner.
Which brings us to best multiplayer.
Yes.
And this is one I actually really agree with, I think. Helldivers 2 took best multiplayer.
Yeah, I agree with that, even though I haven't played it.
Yeah, well, I haven't either, but it's a co-op-ish MMO FPS or third-person shooter. I can't recall which one it is, but where there's this overarching narrative and big events going on. Yeah, and a game that I have little interest in playing because I just don't have the time for it.
Yeah,
but it feels like the only one that. Okay, well, all right, well, I feel like there would be two decent choices for this, but Call of Duty. I mean, it's Call of Duty. That's the like the other one that I think would make sense winning this one. Mario Party Jamboree feels like it's the obligatory Nintendo IP that got thrown in here.
Yeah,
and whenever I think best multiplayer, I think online multiplayer these days. And Mario Party, even though it does have, or at least the previous one, I'm not sure about Jamboree, has an online component. It's not really the focus. It's Mario Party is about getting the game together and fucking them over, right?
Yeah.
And I always thought Mario Party is more couch co-op. Tekken 8, yeah, technically multiplayer, but it's one-on-one. And Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. I'm intrigued and want to play Space Marine 2, but what the fuck are you doing here?
Yeah.
Space Marine 2 is a single. Yeah, it has a co-op horde mode.
Yeah.
But definitely doesn't fit the bill here. This feels like, they had two good choices, and then the rest was like, okay, well, we got to put a Nintendo franchise in here.
What can we advertise?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty much. Speaking of advertisements, let's go to the sports racing games.
Best sports racing.
Which just also drives me nuts. Why did they combine sports and racing?
Yeah, because it's 4 sports games and 1 racing game, which I know motorsport is still sport, but 4 sports games and 1 racing game. I don't know anything about any of these sports games. And I don't really know anything about F1 2024, which is the only racing game.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Hey, EA won, right?
yeah. Then we've
I
got best sim slash strategy. Frostpunk 2 was the winner.
Yeah, which once again, why is Sim and Strategy put together?
Yeah. Well, they're often put together in store categories, though.
I know, but still. So, Age of Mythology Retold, which is a remake of Age of Mythology, Frostpunk 2, Kutsumi Gami, Path of the Goddess. I have no idea what that is. Manor Lords is an early access game. Don't get me wrong, I played a bit of it. It is very intriguing, but the last time I played it, it was incredibly bare bones.
Yeah.
And Unicorn Overlord is the I would put it more in the RPG, tactical RPG category, which is would put it up in the RPG category. Uh, there is a it is a strategic RPG. It's very Fire Emblem-esque, but it
Yeah.
feels out of place here, especially whenever you're looking at Manor Lords and Frostpunk, right? And Age of Mythology.
Yeah.
But once
So,
again, a Nintendo product losing. Weird.
yeah. Yeah. So, let's see. Sim strategy family, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Best family game went to
Oh,
Astrobot.
yeah. The Nintendo category lost, right?
Yeah.
So
Um,
Astrobot is a PlayStation exclusive. Basically a remake or a revival of the mascot platformer. Princess Peach Showtime is a platformer with Princess Peach. Mario Party Jamboree is a Mario Party game, only a Jamboree. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom is an intriguing one where you're playing as Zelda with like the ability to summon create duplicates of objects.
mhm.
I would say the most intriguing one out of this was the Plucky Squire, but I definitely understand why it does get a lot of praise here because it's so easy,
Yeah.
but it has an interesting concept about it.
Which is, if you remember from last week, dear listeners, that's the game with the storybook where you get knocked out of the book and then you have to interact with the book in order to finish the story. Um, okay. Well, best fighting game. This one went to Tekken 8.
Yeah,
Not a
Tekken
fighting
8
game,
may not
boy.
be may not be the best multiplayer game, but it's the best fighting.
Yep.
Although I will admit I'm not a big fighter, so only one of these I really have seen anything about outside of Tekken is Multiverses, and that's mostly because they pulled it off the shelves and are reintroducing it. It's just what the hell, right?
Yeah. All right. Best RPG went to Metaphor
Which
Refantasio.
I'd never really even heard of. I
No,
know
it
it's an
came.
Atlas game, but right.
Yeah, it came
Dragon
up last
Dogs,
week.
yeah. Dragon's Dogma has uh pretty much put me off of ever playing it just because of its save system.
Yep.
There's too many horror stories about the single save uh getting either corrupted or auto saving at a very bad spot. Elden Ring Shadow of the Entry or uh, okay, hot take time. DLC should not be considered here. It should have its own category.
I agree. If you want to do a best DLC category, that's fine, but it should not be considered in with mainline games.
Or it should be confined to the best ongoing or whatever game.
Yeah, which they had a category for that.
Yeah,
We'll
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 get
get
to
to
that
it.
eventually. But they changed the rules this year to allow DLCs to be in the Game of the Year category as well.
Yeah.
Potential spoilers there. We'll see.
Yep. So the next category, action adventure. They gave it to Astrobot again.
Weird. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, which I've not really heard much about outside of release time for it.
Yeah.
And Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Yeah, weird. Nintendo lost again. I really think unless there's a substantial change, remakes or remasters shouldn't be in these categories either. Maybe have their own category. There should be like a fine line, where if it drastically changes how the game is played, then I think it should be part of it. But if it's like the Halo Master Chief Collection, where it's basically a spit polish of graphics,
Yeah.
This is going to be a little bit harder, but how they eventually got around to doing the GTA trilogy definitive edition, where they patched it all to hell, but actually have it to a working state now.
Yeah.
But they drastically changed like the shooting mechanics and that sort of thing. If it was worth half a damn when it came out, and does it have a completely tarnished reputation? Something that changes the core mechanics of the gameplay. I have a better feeling about putting in these categories than a remaster. That's just we changed the engine. So moving along.
Yeah, so they did best action and adventure, and then they have just a straight up best action category, which they gave to Black Myth Wukong.
Mm-hmm.
Other games in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, it's the next Call of Duty game. Helldivers 2, we already mentioned. Stellar Blade, we talked about last time. That's I believe it's Korean developed game that has sparked some controversy with the Chud community. And then Warhammer 40k 2, Space Marine 2, which we already talked about. So next category, best VR AR, went to Batman Arkham Shadow. It's a Batman game. I've seen some people play it. I don't really know anything about it other than it's Batman, and you're playing Batman, and you beat up criminals. Arizona Sunshine. I don't know anything about that.
I wonder if these are AR games or if they're all just VR games.
Yeah. Asgard's Wrath 2, Metal Hellsinger, and Metro Awakening. Metro Awakening is the only one that I don't know anything about on this list. I mean, it's the next game in the Metro series. It's the most recent game in the Metro series. It's open world. I guess it's got a VR mode. Best mobile game. Balatro was the winner.
Also known as Mobile Crack.
Yep.
I could definitely see that, especially considering it's up against, 2 or 3 just random gacha games. And Pokemon Trading Card Pocket, which is also a gacha game. Balatro feels like the only one that's a more coherent game.
Yeah. Okay. Back to the category list.
I'm just hitting previous. Best debut indie game. Also Balatro.
Yep.
This one I feel is a lot closer, alright? So, I've seen some very good discussion about Animal Well. And how impressive it is. I have not played it yet. Manor Lords is also a very interesting skeleton of a game. I'm not sure how much development there's been on it since its early access release. Pacific Drive is a very interesting take on the driving survival game, or driving / survival horror, where you're going into the rift areas and trying to figure out what the ever living hell is going on. And the Plucky Squire has such an interesting mechanic that's just let down,
Yeah.
I would say Balatro wins just by the fact that it's the most unique out of these. It's a roguelike deck builder based around the rules of poker versus Metroidvania, town builder. Pacific Drive has the second most like interesting genre combination of driving survival horror, and the Plucky Squire has the most interesting game mechanic or central game mechanic. You know.
Yeah. So next category, best independent game, and Balatro wins again.
Yeah. First of all, what's the difference? Well, I know. The debut versus independent game, but right, and two of these are the same. Animal and Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. Right.
Yep.
UFO 50 is supposed to be well, the NPR article really sold it as a very intriguing thing to check out, but yeah, Balatro just set the internet on fire for a while.
Yeah.
So it's hard to not really support that one. Best community support. This one I have a little bit of a beef with.
Okay. Well, I mean, the winner was Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, but I've seen the community around Helldivers 2 and just how insane they are and how fun they are. The fact that lost community support astounds me, you know?
Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3 has got a pretty big community, but I feel like that Baldur's Gate 3 pollutes the list because of how just good and much of a landslide it is. It just kind of like, it's got so much like gravity and like it'll suck out, you know, anything else in the room. I mean, Final Fantasy 14, I don't know anything about that community. Fortnite is toxic as fucking hell. Like, Fortnite shouldn't even be on the list. Helldivers 2, I agree with you. The community for that game is amazing. And then No Man's Sky, like, I don't understand. I mean, their description, recognize the game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusiveness of social media activity, and game updates / patches. That's the only category I can think of that applies to No Man's Sky. Game updates / patches. Because of, like, its weird journey. But, yeah, I think Helldivers 2 should have won out of the listed games.
Speaking of weird journey, best ongoing.
Yep.
It won over there. Although it's not really up against a lot of good competition. I would say its only real competition would be Fortnite, just because, live service. And maybe Final Fantasy 14, although don't really know how they're doing these days. But Diablo 4, as far as I know, it's been a kind of a joke. I could be wrong on that one.
Do you all not have phones?
And Destiny 2, they literally just gutted all the content. Right?
Yeah.
In the last, couple years because consoles. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Games for Impact. I don't know as many of these games. Neva was the winner, and that was in the NPR list from last week about the girl who's got like the wolf spirit thing that they're going on an adventure together. Let's see.
You know what would be really nice? If they said why or what the impact is, right?
Yeah. And I mean, all it says is for a thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. Sinuous Saga Hellblade 2 feels like it should be a contender. Again, Sinuous Saga, the first one was all about mental health and a lady who probably has schizophrenia trying to like do some stuff. And the second one takes that a little bit further. Like there's a group of people who are worshiping her is probably too strong of a word, but because of the vision she has as a result of her mental illness, she's being like hailed as a prophet. And it's like a journey that's kind of related to that and just continues to explore mental illness. Beyond that, like I don't know any of the other stuff about the other games on this list. I mean, Life is Strange Double Exposure, the sequel to the first Life is Strange game, like the direct sequel. We talked about that a little bit last week, I think. Indica, I don't know anything about that. Closer the Distance. I don't know anything about that. Tales of Kinzara Zhao. I don't know anything about that either. So,
Yeah, it feels like if you want to make an impact, list what it is, right?
yeah. All right. Innovation.
Same for this one, right?
Yeah. Innovation and accessibility. I don't know why any of these games were voted. The winner was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. But the games listed are Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Diablo 4, Dragon Age The Veilguard, and Star Wars Outlaws. Actually, I'm surprised Veilguard didn't win. I don't know a lot about it specifically other than it's the next Dragon Age game, but there is a content creator whom I listen to and watch and have talked about on the show numerous times before. Laura Kate Dale. She has been on Podquisition, which is the Jimquisition podcast. Has been a staple, and Laura has, I mean, not single-handedly, but is the most prominent disability activist in the gaming space. And she was a direct consultant on Dragon Age: The Veilguard for their accessibility features, and she has said that they listened to her and onboarded a lot of her ideas. So I don't have any experience with it, but based on that sort of discussion she had on a recent Jimquisition or Podquisition episode, I feel like that probably should have won. But I don't know. No idea. Again, they don't list a reason why.
Well, Ubisoft has a very long thing about all the accessibility options, and it looks like there's aim assist, subtitles. You're not helping me here, right?
Yeah.
Is it possible to deactivate flickering features? Ubisoft says no.
Oh, good. Good.
All right.
Hope you don't have epilepsy. Don't play video games if you have epilepsy, I guess. That's a solution.
Well, the fun part is you may not even know you have it. At the con this year, a girl found out the hard way that she has photosensitive epilepsy via a pinball machine.
Interesting. Wild.
Yeah, that was fun, especially whenever people started crowding around her, because you definitely want to get in her personal space to try to help, right?
Yeah. So the next category, best performance. I don't know any of these performers, and I don't know any of the people that they played. Because it doesn't say. It's the name of the voice actor and the game that they voice acted in.
Oh, hang on. Where's Nathan Fillion?
You're right.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
All right, so best audio design, Sinuous Saga, Hellblade 2 was the winner. Again, I think that portrayal of mental illness and the way that it shows up as whispering voices and things of that nature, especially if you play with stereo sound on and headphones. Surround sound and either headphones or in a room with surround sound. Excellent. Other games on the list: Astrobot, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Silent Hill 2, which was a remaster.
Yeah, so. Well, the Call of Duty one is so that you could get racial slurs and surround sound.
Yeah, and gunshots. Gunshots sound cool. Mm-hmm. So, best score and music. The winner was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Sure. Nominees: Astrobot, Metaphor Refantasio, Silent Hill 2, and Stellar Blade. All games that we've already mentioned. I don't know anything about their scores, so makes sense, I guess. Best art direction. Winner was Metaphor Refantasio, which does have, from what I've seen, a very unique and interesting art style. I know that all the screenshots look like generic, kind of JRPG anime styling, but with the subject matter that it tackles, it uses colors and variations in art style and things to really denote different classes of people and different types of people. It's good stuff. Uh,
One of
other,
those a lot easier to see in motion than screenshot, huh?
yeah. And again, like I mean, I have a passing familiarity with this game, so I've seen it. Like, but otherwise, like Astrobot, Black Myth, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, and Neva. Neva looked cute. I remember calling out the art style last week that it looked like it was really interesting. I've seen Black Myth Wukong's graphics and art direction, and it looks fine to me, but like this category is super subjective anyways. Best narrative, Metaphor Refantasio, winning again. And based on what I know about the narrative, that checks out. That checks out. It's using fantasy to like take a hard look at the real world, talk about bigotry and racism and like just all kinds of stuff. It's good.
Although it's interesting that Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is on there because that is kind of the Yakuza Like a Dragon series is usually all over the place. So I wonder what they're doing there, or if it's just we need a fifth game, quick.
Yeah. That was the only new one we haven't talked about. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Sinuous Saga, and Silent Hill 2. Best game direction went to Astrobot. Other games on the list: Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII, and Metaphor Refantasio.
It's kind of odd that Astrobot wins that one. When from what I can tell, it's like going back to the mascot platform when you've talked about Metaphor Refantasio and also Balatro kind of mixing two things that didn't really go together and loses there. In my opinion, at least, that's the problem with award shows is it's all subjective,
Yep.
I don't know enough about what Elden Ring did in its DLC to be able to say that there, because I do know that it is a really, really big one.
Yeah.
And whenever I think game direction, especially when they talk about innovation, I'm wanting to get something a little bit more innovative out there.
Right. You think, it's in the name on the 10.
Yeah, which brings us to the last one already.
Game of the Year, which went to Astrobot, and the other nominated games: Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantasio.
Yeah, which I do think Elden Ring shouldn't have been here. They changed the rules just to put it here, and then don't give it to it, which it feels weird,
Yeah.
I know that the players for Black Myth Wukong went absolutely berserk that they lost. I'm not sure how I feel about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because this is the second or third game in the series now.
I think it's the second, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, which I'm basically waiting for the entire story to be done, then then I'll consider getting it at that point because I know that this is a remaster situation. This is them going in and fundamentally changing the story, changing how things are done.
Yep.
But I want to have a more complete experience of be able to buy the first game and then never play the other ones because I got sidetracked and started playing Satisfactory again.
That sounds about right.
As much as I love Balatro as a time waster, I don't think it's Game of the Year material. Honestly, all the choices feel a little weak.
Yeah. I agree. And I don't even know anything about Astrobot other than like what you mentioned at the very beginning, so. But yep. Astrobot, Game of the Year winner. Good job, Astrobot, I guess.
Yeah, Nintendo did not take a single award home, which is a little shocking to me, especially whenever they have the family focus, so best family game. The fact that it lost to Astrobot, right?
Uh-huh. Oh, sorry. Big yawn there for me.
I'm not sure if this is just like a just because it's a going back to that older style of platformer and turning up to the nth degree because the technology's there these days, or what's going on with it. But it makes me wish I could play Astrobot, but I can't because I don't have a damn PlayStation.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's that. I mean, got through that pretty quickly, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
So that only leaves one thing left on the docket. The Balatro Dev deals Balatro Dev deals out thoughts over 18 plus rating.
Yeah, which I think is a better headline than the entire novel that they had on PC Gamer.
Yeah.
So basically, and now I'm looking for the name of it, of the local thunk, Balatro's developer, took to Twitter. I'm still refusing to call it X. Ripping into Peggy for giving it a 18 plus rating because it uses gambling mechanics. Right?
Yeah.
And he starts joking about maybe I should just add microtransactions so I could get a 3 plus rating like soccer. Well, EA Sports FC 25, which right?
Yeah.
And they have a point, yes, Balatro technically uses the mechanics of poker to build a game around it. But it's also, it's not outside of the card hand hierarchy. It's a little hard to go into a casino and play poker, use a Balatro rules saying, okay, well, I have this joker that means I win. All right, or I'm going to sell this joker for $2. That means that I don't lose my entire all in bet. Right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But then again, Peggy is too much of a coward to rate an EA game anything but the lowest rating possible. Never mind what gambling mechanics are in it. Never mind what microtransactions are in it. Never mind whatever is in it. They are too much of a fucking coward to take EA to task.
Yep. Correct.
And I would say pretty much every rating board out there is going to be the same way, where it's going to be where they're too cowardly to want to take the big developers to task over things that obviously are gambling. But yeah, this game looks like it's gambling. It has blackjack. Let's rate it 18 plus, right? Or better yet, the story of all the Pokemon games and why they lost the game corner because they used slot machines. No game, no real life money, and you could just buy the coins to get the Pokemon. But they ran afoul of the ratings boards because, and I know this is kind of going back on what I'm saying, where the ratings boards won't take them to task, but this was also late '90s, early 2000s, right?
Yeah.
They won't do it these days, but they'll do it back then, where a game that uses the idea of a slot machine is enough to bump up the rating just a little bit. But now you could have literal slot machines in the game flashing about what loot you're about to get. But only if you pay into it, and that's not a slot machine, right?
Right. No, it's not. So, I mean, I've been pretty quiet through this since I've played Balatro, but I mean, I would say I agree with your sentiments pretty straightforward. Okay. I mean, I don't think I have anything to add, just because that's your story. You've played the game. You brought it up. So, hey Rage, where can people contact you if they want to?
Well, I do want to highlight. Yes, we do see the number ticking up for the layoffs as Ubisoft kills another one. I
Oh,
don't think we highlighted that last week.
no, we didn't.
But yeah, Ubisoft kills another one, and we'll do a year wrap up on layoffs. I think in January. How about that?
Sounds good to me. Just collect it all in one big pile and go through it.
I mean, shit. I mean, January of this year had almost 6,000 layoffs, and then another 2,000 February. It's been outside of 2 summer months, 500 plus a month.
Yeah,
This industry sucks.
it does indeed. It does indeed. Along with a lot of other stuff that I don't want to get bogged down in. But yeah.
You don't want to talk about the clown show?
No. Not right now. Maybe later when I'm not so tired.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hey Rach, why don't you hit them with them socials?
Well, I've been Caffeine Rage. You can be my friend on Steam, Caffeine Rage, or get a hold of me on Twitter, GameUSCR. So I don't really feel the need to tweet anymore because, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you want to,
Short and sweet.
I'm struggling. I mean, it's getting late.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my socials. I don't do Twitter anymore. If you want to talk to me on a social platform, JMA4707 over on Blue Sky, and then you can talk to me on Discord, or you could like send smoke signals or something. I guess I'd see those eventually. Take us home, buddy.
Well, I was also checking the mailbag, make sure there's nothing in there, and don't see anything other than the moths. Looks like they're having a fight to the death. Fun. Once again, you can contact us, VGLpodcast@gmail.com. You could, with your letters, voicemails, game-related topics, or your Steam year-end reviews, which that's something we could check out next time around. Not next week, obviously, because, right?
Yeah, next week is the week of Christmas.
Mm-hmm. Our lovely patrons have made this madness possible. You can find out more about that over at patreon.com/VGLpodcast. And if you wish to go to the website, vglpodcast.podbean.com, which has a link to the Discord, which you could also leave your stuff there. Or if you want to spread the love, you can find us on your podcatcher of choice. Our intro and outro music is On the Ground by Kevin McLeod. You can find his work over at incompetech.com. And
as always, as his lovely music starts to roll across my voice. Bye-bye now.
See ya.
Bye-bye.